Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 9. And I hope that all of you had a wonderful mid semester break and you are feeling refreshed. You're feeling rejuvenated to actually continue with the second half of the semester. So I welcome you once again to CIN708 Semester 2 2021, Week 9. Now, this week we will be going over our usual stuffs. First of all, we will be going over our lecture in our lecture class. Now, the class for week 9 has been cancelled. If you would look at the notification in your Moodle shell, it has been cancelled due to a planned EFL power outage. And the power outage is basically for half of Neni and Lotoka area. So therefore, I had cancelled the class and the recording would be placed under Moodle in the week 9 section of the Moodle shell. Straight after, after I'm done with the recording, it will come in here with the topic given recording, and you will be able to actually go around and see the contents of the recording. Now, without further ado, just a few reminders. Now, your mid-semester exam marks has now been released on Moodle. So how do you go and see your mid-semester exams mark? You'll have to go to grades. So when you open up grades, you would be able to see your profile. And from there, you should be able to actually go and see in your mid-semester exam marks. Another way in which you can quickly go around seeing your mid-semester exam marks is by going into my assessments section of the Moodle shell, and down there you'll have a mid-semester exam. Click on it and review attempt. You should be able to see your marks. Now, most of you did your exams very, very well. Congratulations, and I'm really happy to see good results coming through. Now, some places you would have got full marks, some places you would have received partial marks. So wherever you've received partial marks, I have placed in the comment as to why I have given you partial marks. So please do feel free to go over it. And should you have any questions or queries, feel free to drop me an email. Or if you feel you deserve more marks than what you have, feel free to drop me an email. I would be most happy to reconsider your mid-semester exam marks. Now, moving on, okay, let's go over your lecture notes. So this week, we will be looking at your lecture notes on the topic called data and business intelligence. So what we'll be looking at is how data and information is used, how it has been set up, and how your data is used as intelligence to make important and productive decisions for an organization. So we're looking at all of that in this week's lecture class. So let's move on. So you have two sections, sections 6.1, whereby we'll be talking about data, information, and databases. Within that, we'll be looking at the business benefits of high quality information, storing information using a relational database management system, okay, and using a relational database for business advantages, driving websites with data. Section 3.2, we'll be looking at business intelligence, supporting decisions with business intelligence, the business benefits of data warehousing, and the power of big data analysis. So these are the two major subtopics for your lecture 6, and we'll be looking at each one of them with its provided learning outcomes accordingly. Section 6.1, first of all, we'll go and have a look at what is data, what is information and databases, and all the aspects around it. So the learning outcomes that you are supposed to meet for section 6.1 is you should be able to explain the 4 primary traits that determine the value of information. Now, in here, we'll be looking at some of the qualities of information that gives in value to an organization, especially in terms of decision making. Thereafter, we'll go around describing what is a database, what is a database management system, and the relational database model. Now, very similar if you have used Microsoft Access. Now, Microsoft Access is a database management system, and in it, you go around creating relational databases. So we'll be looking at a brief description of all these things. The third learning outcome is identifying the business advantages of a relational database. And finally, we'll explain the business benefits of a data-driven website. So a data-driven website is basically more like a dynamic website, whereby data is stored in a database, and then again, it is retrieved from the database and displayed on the website. For example, if you are looking at your Facebook account details, I'm picking up most of the simple examples so that you can actually relate to what I'm saying. So if you're looking at your Facebook homepage, yeah, Facebook homepage, now what you will see is you'll see the details you've entered way long back or just recently in your pictures. Now, where are these stored? These are all stored in a database. So when you view your page, what happens is that the web page communicates with the database and pulls up the details and presents it up on your computer screen. So that is an example of a data-driven website. The business benefits of high quality information. Information is everywhere in an organization. Employees must be able to obtain and analyze the many different levels, formats, and granularities of organizational information to make decisions. Successfully collecting, compiling, sorting, and analyzing information can provide tremendous insight into how an organization is performing. Now, when you talk about making effective decisions in an organization, we already have had a look at the types of decisions and how decisions are made in the different levels of the organization. Now, what happens is that the information and the data that circulates in the organization, these form an essential part for an organization to perform correctly and to perform profitably. Now, it all depends how a organization goes around collecting, compiling, sorting, and analyzing information and sees the insight of knowledge that has been derived from those kind of information. Now, information can be obtained from the different levels of the organization. It can be obtained from different employees. It can be obtained in different formats. And the other word that I wanted to consider it on is granularities. Now, granularities is basically how big, how small the information is. Okay, so all these, they are combined together. Okay, and they may be used to make effective decisions. Information type, transactional and analytical. Now, transactional information encompasses all of the information contained within a single business process or unit of work, and its primary purpose is to support the performing of daily operational tasks. Now, transactional information are basically all those types of information that are used to perform day-to-day activities or day-to-day tasks. Whereas, on the other hand, when you look at analytical information, it encompasses all organizational information, and its primary purpose is to support the performing of managerial analysis tasks. So analytical information is more like all the information that allows a manager or a set of managers to analyze the information and to perform some decisions or to make decisions and to perform some form of managerial tasks. So the difference between the two, when you talk about transactional information, you're talking about operation of an organization, day-to-day activities. When you talk about analytical information, you're looking at a semi-structured kind of information, and this is where it assists managers to analyze the data and the information to make effective decisions for the organization. So those are some of the things. So you have a database, which is right in the middle. Okay, this is your database here. And you have your sales receipt, you have your airline ticket, and your booking slip. Now, these all are more sort of like a day-to-day information. Therefore, they are listed under transactional information. Now, analytical information is more like you're giving out stats, you're giving out figures, okay, you're giving out trends. So you have product statistics, you have sales statistics, you have future growth and trends. And these all may assist a manager to make effective decisions so that the organization functions well at the different levels. Different levels would be an operational level, you have a middle level, and then you also have strategic level. The four primary traits of the value of information are: you have information type, you have information timeliness, you have information quality, and finally, you have information governance. So let's have a look at all these in the next few set of slides. So information type, we've already had a look at it. So the information type, you have analytical and you have transactional information. Now, information timeliness is more of like what time or how timely is the information presented. So timeliness is an aspect of information that depends on the situation. So real-time information that is immediate, up-to-date information. I think this is quite simple to understand. Real time happens as it is. For example, ATMs are real-time systems and they present you with real-time information. So a real-time system provides real-time information in response to requests. Now, how come ATM? Let's say you had $100 in a bank account, okay? You go and check balance, so instantly it gives you the balance. When you withdraw $20, and if you go around checking the balance again or asking for a receipt, so it might, not might, yeah, it will tell you definitely, not might, it will tell you definitely that you have $80 remaining in your bank account. Okay, so these are examples of real-time system and real-time information. Next up, okay, information quality. So business decisions are not only as good as the quality of the information. Sorry, pardon me. Let me begin with it again. Okay, business decisions are only as good as the quality of information used to make decisions. You never want to find yourself using technology to help you make a bad decision faster. Now, what it means over here in the very first line is that your effective business decisions or the quality of the decisions that you make basically depends on the quality of the information that you get. So the information that you get is something that is accurate, something that is complete, something that is consistent, okay? So you are able to make decisions as such. Now, businesses, they do not want to get themselves in a situation where they make bad decisions faster. And bad decisions are resulted from information inconsistency or information integrity issues. Now, what are information inconsistency and information integrity? We'll have a look at them in the next set of slides. Now, the qualities and the characteristics of high quality information are: you have accurate. Now, accurate would mean whereby all the data that you have is correct, complete. That means you do not have any missing values. Consistent. All values or information is in agreement with other similar information. In other words, if you have information presented in terms of numbers, so all the information would need to be in terms of numbers. If you have your information presented in terms of a specific format of dates, so the rest of the information within the database needs to be in the very same format. So that's consistent. Uniqueness. Now, uniqueness would mean to avoid any form of duplication or data redundancies. Timely information current with the business requirement. Now, timely, not only timely would mean you present the information real time, but you also present the information real time together, which matches the needs of the business requirement. Now, let's have a look at that. Now, low quality information example. Now, look at one: missing information. So what is missing over there? There's no first name. So that's something that you or we would need to avoid if you are trying to feed in information to make effective decisions for an organization. The second point that you have is incomplete information. Now, how come incomplete? There's no street name. Look at the first one is 123 S Main, and then you have 12A, the street name is missing, and then you have 124 Colfax. Okay, so with all the different types of data, okay, you had the street name over here, it's missing. Okay, look at 3, probable duplicate information, similar names, same address, same phone number. Now have a look at that. Now Robert and Robert. Now even though the name is different, look at the first, look at the last name is different, look at the first name. It's Jenny. Street name is same, city is same, state Colorado is also same, zip number is also same, the phone number is even same, and the fax number is same, and also the email is same. So the likely chance that the information that is presented there is not unique. That means it shows some form of redundant data or duplicate with slight additions. Fourth one is potential wrong information. Are the phone and fax numbers the same, or is it an error? Now, have a look at that. Now, generally your phone and fax numbers, they cannot be the same. Why? Because phone numbers, the telephone line that is used for phones, it carries voice over the telephone line. Whereas if you look at fax, it carries data. So with voice, it's normally analog data, and with fax, it's basically digital data. So there's a big difference between the two, so the numbers cannot be same. 6, you have incomplete information, missing area code. Where is the area code missing? Look at this, 303, 303. So these are the area codes over here, it's missing. Okay, so definitely it's an incomplete information. Now, understanding the costs of using low quality information, what it simply means is what will happen if you end up using low quality or poor quality information. Now, the 4 primary sources of low quality information include customers intentionally enter incorrect information to protect their privacy. Now, this could also be the case. Sometimes you have incorrect information because the customers intentionally would enter it incorrectly. And then you have different entry standards and formats. Now, your data would be of low quality because they have different standards and formats. For example, date formats. Some of it would be using months and days and then years, whereas the other format would be day, months, and then years, and somebody will be using years, months, and then day. So with the different types of formats, what will happen is there's a likely chance it would make an error once the software is, if you're using some form of database software or a data mining software, it will tend to make an error. Okay, operators enter abbreviated or erroneous information by accident to save time. Now, what happens instead of, let's say, saying Fiji, so somebody writes FJ, whereas the previous person wrote FIJI for Fiji. So that's inconsistent data, and there's a use of abbreviated or erroneous information. Erroneous information rather would mean that there's an error with the information that is entered. And for third-party and external information contains inconsistencies, inaccuracies, and errors. So this is where there's error in terms of the third-party information or the external information that is provided. Now, potential business effects resulting from low-quality information. So if you put in or feed in low-quality information, what could be some of the effects of it? Now, first one is inability to accurately track customers. That means the business would have a lot of time in terms of tracking the customers accurately should there be low quality information. Moreover, difficulty identifying valuable customers, inability to identify selling opportunities, marketing to non-existent customers, difficulty tracking revenue, inability to build strong customer relationship. So these are some of the effects that the business may face resulting from low quality information. So overall, if you will notice is that what will happen is it will cause nothing but problems to an organization, and that problem would lead to lower revenue, henceforth lower profit. Now, data gap analysis occurs when a company examines its data to determine if it can meet business expectation while identifying possible data gaps or where missing data might exist. Now, data gap analysis, so this is where a business sought to make out a decision, or a company basically sees the data it has and tries to make decisions despite data being missing. So that's why it's called data gap analysis. There's a gap. So you have data on one side and then you have decision. So the bridge between data and the decision, okay, there's a bit of gap in it. So this is where the business has to go around doing further analysis to actually make effective decisions. Understanding the benefits of good information. Now, good information basically means high quality information. Okay, high quality information would mean good decisions. Good decisions will end up making effective business strategies. Effective business strategies allows organizations to make more revenue, hence more profit. Now, how high quality information can significantly improve the chance of making a good decision. Good decisions can directly impact an organization's bottom line. When we say bottom line, so these are the final total of an account or balance sheet. That means if it says direct impact on the organization's bottom line, that means direct impact on the profit and the loss. A data steward is responsible for ensuring data policies and procedures are implemented across an organization. So a data steward is basically a person responsible for the management and oversight of an organization's data asset. And what this particular employee in the organization does is ensures that data is of absolute quality, data is consistent, data is accessible, and most importantly, ensures that data is available to meet the day-to-day needs of the business. Data governance refers to the overall management of the availability, usability, integrity, and security of company data. Now, if you want to easily remember what data governance is just try to consider the word government. So what does the government do? It manages the overall country. Likewise, data governance, basically it is a procedure that overall manages a company's data. How does it manage? It looks at the availability. Availability means whether the data is available on timely basis or not. It looks at usability, how easy it is to use. It looks at integrity. Integrity deals with accuracy or correctness. And security, that means how secure is the data and how secure is the data in terms of unauthorized users using it. Master data management, MDM, the practice of gathering data and ensuring that it is uniform, accurate, consistent, and complete, including such entities as customers, suppliers, products, sales, employees, and other critical entities are commonly integrated across organizational systems. Data validation includes the tests and evaluations to determine compliance with data governance policies to ensure correctness of data. Now, data validation is just a way of testing and evaluating data to see whether it meets the governing procedure of the organization. Now, data governing procedure, it deals with availability, usability, integrity, and security. So all these things, what data validation does, it tests against all these four things and with what the organization has, and then tries to make changes and improve on the quality of data. Storing information in a relational database. Information is everywhere in an organization. True, false? True. Okay. From the ground level, okay, let's say in a supermarket, so ground level data is going to be data being fed in for all the items that comes into a retail store to actually sell it out to the customers. Okay, even it goes, data is where the cashiers are cashing in. Data is where managers are also looking at the end sales, and so forth. Information is stored in databases. So databases or database maintains information about various types of objects, inventory, events, transactions, people, employees, and places, warehouses. Now, database is basically a collection of records. So the collection of records over here would be in terms of all the types of business activities that takes place within the organization. They are recorded in a database management system in different databases. Now, a database would have tables. So the tables is where information is stored about a specific object. Okay, and we will learn more about it in the next few set of slides. Now, database management system, or DBMS, allowed users to create, read, update, and delete data in a relational database. So database management system is basically a software program. So what it does, it allows you to create databases and to basically manage them. Now, relational database, it is a type of a database, and it provides access to data points that are related to one another. Okay, now if you'll notice in an organization, all the data in one way or the other, they would be related to one another. How, when, where, which, okay, these questions basically try to link the different products and the different data within an organization. Now, moreover, okay, if you would have a look at the diagram, okay, so you have databases there for customers. You have a database, and the database has tables for customers, orders, products, distributors. Okay, and with the use of a database management system, you'll see that a new customer is entered into the customer table. So the customer is looked at or by using the find feature. Okay, and the types of product that needs to be entered is entered into the products database. Now, all these, how is it entered? It's entered to the use of through the user rather. So the user basically ends up utilizing a database management system. So the database management system is a software, for example, Microsoft Access. In Microsoft Access, you make databases to the use of tables. So you have a database and tables are there, customers, orders, products, distributors, and so forth. Storing information in a relational database. So you have data element, the smallest or basic unit of information, data model, logical data structures that detail the relationships among data elements using graphics or pictures. You have metadata, details about data. You have data dictionary, compiles all of the metadata about the data elements in the data model. So data element, once again, these are the very basic units of information in a database. Data model shows the logical structure. They detail the relationship among data elements using graphics or pictures. In other words, when you look at a logical structure of almost anything, you're looking at how data flows within the system. Okay, so how it flows, okay, and it being represented in a form of a picture or a graphical outlook, okay, is data model. Now, metadata, it basically is detail about data. For example, if I have a product called, okay, Ceylon tea 500 grams packet, okay, so the data over there is still on T. Okay, now metadata 500 grams. Okay, made in Sri Lanka. That's where Novity comes from. Okay, made in Sri Lanka. So that's metadata, data about data. In data dictionary, it compiles all the metadata and the data elements and presents it in a data model. There are some more elements of databases. We'll quickly go over this. Is entity, a person, place, thing, transaction, or event about which information is stored. The rows in a table contains entities. Attribute, the data elements associated with an entity. The columns in each table contain the attributes. And then you have record, a collection of related data elements. Okay, now what I would suggest to know from here is, in a database, okay, you have entity, okay, you have attributes, and then you have records. Now if I have a table called customers in a database, so the name of the entity is customer. Now the attribute would be customer ID, customer name, customer address, and so forth. And the record is customer ID, let's say C1001, customer name, Matt Hawkins, okay, customer phone number, the actual phone number, so that is a record. Now in a database, especially in a relational database, since data is related to one another in one way or the other, you have something called as keys. So you have two types of keys, a primary key and a foreign key. A primary key basically uniquely identifies a given entity in a table, okay, the unique identifier. So if I have a database for students, so the primary key would be a unique identifier. In that case would be a student ID. Now remember this, a primary key would always be different from one another. Now we don't have two students with a similar ID in the university, do we? No, we don't. We don't have two people here in Fiji with the same TIN number, do we? No, we don't. Okay, so that it could be an example of a unique identifier. Now, foreign key is whereby a primary key of one table that appears as an attribute in another table and acts to provide a logical relationship among the two tables. Now, if we have used databases previously, and when you try to create relationship in a database, especially in terms of Microsoft Access, so you'll have your entities, okay. You'll have your entities in a table, okay, and one table and then another table. So you have a primary key in, let's say, table 1, and the primary key of table 1 appears in table 2 as well. Now what happens is that the attribute or the primary key of table 1, which is in table 2, okay, that becomes a foreign key. Okay, so if you would go around looking at the definition once again, a primary key of one table that appears as an attribute in another table. Okay, so what happens is that in Microsoft Access, so if you want to form a relationship, so you have to click and drag your primary key on top of the foreign key. Only then you will be able to build the relationship, and that's how it works. Now, the very similar concept works with other data management softwares. Okay, for example, we have Power BI, Power Business Intelligence, that database management system used by a lot of organizations here in Fiji and in the Pacific. You have SQL databases whereby you will go around writing actual codes, MySQL languages, to actually create these relationships and to allow interaction between the databases and so forth. Now, using a relational database for business advantages. Database advantages from a business perspective include, so when you're using database, it gives you increased flexibility. It gives you increased scalability and performance. It reduces information redundancy. Redundancy means duplication. It increases information integrity. Integrity would mean correctness, okay? Increase information security, how secure your data is. So we'll go around discussing all of those in detail. A well-designed database should, okay, now we're looking at increased flexibility. So when a database is well designed, it handles changes quickly and easily. It provides users with different views, have only one physical view, deals with the physical storage of information on a storage device, have multiple logical views, focuses on how individual users logically access information to meet their own particular business needs. So when you're looking at flexibility, so the point that I'm going to put the focus on is a very last point, having logical views. Now, logical views means is you'll have a lot of different ways in which your end database could be presented. Now, why do we need that? Because now different businesses, they would need different way in which data is presented. Some would need in terms of graphs, some would need in terms of forms, some would need in terms of reports, some would need in terms of tabular layouts. So as per the needs, so the database basically provides you with that flexibility. Now, increase scalability and performance. Our database must scale to meet increased demand while maintaining acceptable performance level. Scalability refers to how well a system can adapt to increased demands. Now, we had a look at the definition of scalability in the previous lectures as well. It simply means what it means, or in simple terms in which I could explain scalability, is as the number of demands increase for the system should be able to adapt to it accordingly. If the system is not able to adapt to it, that means the system is not scalable. Now, performance measures how quickly a system performs a certain process or transaction. Reduce information redundancy. Now, our database allows that. It allows reduction in information redundancy. Redundancy basically means the duplication of data or storing the same information in multiple places. Inconsistency is one of the primary problems with redundant information. Now, what happens with duplication when you have a lot of duplicate or redundant data? And plenty times you have it because data is inconsistent. You're not entering the data properly, or the person who is entering the data is not entering it as expected. And just because of that, it builds up data inconsistency, which leads to data redundancy. Your databases should also have increased information integrity. So integrity basically means quality or correctness. Information integrity measures the quality of information. Integrity constrained rules that help ensure the quality of the information. This is pretty simple and easy to understand. Now, increase information security. Information is an organizational asset and must be protected. True. Databases offer several security features. So it allows password control. That means already authenticated users would be able to access the database. It allows access level, meaning at different levels, there would be different types of users who would be able to access different types of information. And then access control is determines the type of user access, such as read-only access. Now, access controls and access levels, they're very much correlated to one another. When you talk about access control, it's just like if you are a very junior staff, so the only type of access that you might have is just to probably go and view the information, okay? And if you are a admin staff, probably you can go and view, you can go and add, delete, modify, and so forth. Driving websites with data. Now, data-driven websites, when you talk about data-driven websites, you're talking about an interactive website kept consistently updated and relevant to the needs of its customers using a database. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's a dynamic website. That means you have a website, just like a normal website that you're seeing, okay? At the back end, there's a database. So what happens is that whatever data that is fed into the website, it goes and stores on the database. and when needed, it is retrieved from the database. Okay, and you have content creator, content editor, static information, dynamic information, and dynamic catalog. We will be we will be looking at this in the next set of lectures. However, just to explain in simple, when you look at content creator, okay, so these are the people who actually go around creating the content. A content creator can sometimes also be called as a content editor because they are the ones who go on editing them. Now, static information is just like a website like fijivillage.com. It just displays information. Static information is for, we call it as dissemination purpose only. When we talk about dissemination, it's just about presenting the information and giving out information. Now, dynamic information is the opposite of static information. Dynamic information is when you are viewing a website, you are actually manipulating the contents of a website. For example, Facebook. Now compare fijivillage.com with Facebook. With fijivillage.com, the most that you do is you go and read things. With Facebook, you're actually able to go and enter details. You're actually able to upload pictures. You're actually able to interact with the website. Okay, so that is a dynamic information. Now, a dynamic catalog is something like what you see in ebay.com or AliExpress or a e-commerce website, whereby you have a catalog. Catalog is just like a normal catalog which you see, browse the push catalog, but over here it will be an electronic one, and it's dynamic. Why dynamic? You can actually go and view the images. You can go and order in terms of more than one quantity. Okay, you can control all these elements. You can also go and control the shipping details and so forth. An example is given there, okay, on the next slide. Now, data-driven website advantages. Okay, so if you have a database hooked up to your website, what are some of the advantages? Now, it is easy to manage content. Okay, how easy or why is it easy? Because all the information that you enter on the website could be easily managed through the use of a content management system. A content management system is just like a process, or not process, basically it's just like a website whereby you feed in details and those details are then automatically fed in to update the website. For example, if I am managing fijivillage.com's website, so I do not need to go and write down codes all over to edit articles or insert a new article. So what I'll do is I'll go onto the website. There would be a place to log in. As soon as I log in, I enter the content management system. So I will write down the title, the content, by whom, click on submit. That particular article is posted on freevillage.com. So that's the use of a content management system. Easy to store large amounts of data. Why is it easy? Because you're using a database. Easy to eliminate human errors. How or why is it easy? Because you can always go and edit things. Okay, whereas if you do not have a data-driven website, you'll have to go and enter the codes all over. So have a look at this. So you have a database. See, this is the database user Microsoft Access, and the database has a table. Okay, now, so whatever things that you are feeding in the table, it gets entered into the database management system, and it is represented on the website. So that concludes on section 6.1. Now, let's go over section 6.2 and we will look at business intelligence. Very interesting. Okay, why very interesting? Because business intelligence is the information age that we are in at the moment. Okay, it's more around you trying to control data in such a way that you are able to make effective business decisions for a organization. Now, what we'll be doing is in this section 6.2, we will be looking at the following learning outcomes. You'll describe the roles and purposes of data warehouses and data marts in an organization. Now, data warehouses and data marts are derived from databases, and we'll look at what those are. identify the advantages of using business intelligence to support managerial decision making, identify the 4 common characteristics of big data, explain data mining, and identify the 3 elements of data mining, and explain the importance of data analytics and data visualization. First of all, business intelligence. Okay, so when you are dealing with business intelligence, you're basically looking at making decisions. Now, data warehouses extend the transformation of data into information. In the 1990s, executives became less concerned with day-to-day business operations and more concerned with overall business functions. The data warehouse provided the ability to support data decision making without disrupting the day-to-day operations. Now, data warehouse is basically a platform whereby you feed in all your databases. So you have an individual database, okay, and then you have a lot of database combined within or placed in within a database. So where you have a lot of databases within a database is called a data warehouse. A data warehouse is a collection of information gathered from many different operational databases that supports business analysis activities and decision-making tasks. The primary purpose of data warehouse is to aggregate information throughout an organization information into a single repository for decision-making purposes. So like I mentioned earlier, our data warehouse is a combination of many databases. The main purpose is that to aggregate information. When you talk about aggregate, it means to summarize information throughout the organization and place it into a single repository. Now, the word repository means database, okay? And what is the purpose for placing it into a single database? Makes it easy for decision making. So supporting decisions with business intelligence. Okay, so what happens with business intelligence? You can make decisions on inconsistent data. Now, every department, now how does inconsistent data or where does it come from? Now, every department had its own method for recording data. So when trying to share information, data did not match and users did not get the data they really needed. Now, with that, now normally if you take in a traditional way of analyzing without the use of business intelligence, you wouldn't be able to make a decision because of the inconsistent level of data. Whereas with business intelligence, you can work it out. Now, lack of data standards. Managers need to perform cross-functional analysis using data from all departments which differed in granularities, formats, and levels. Now, same thing here. You have data, but they are in different methods, they are in different formats, and they are in different levels. So there's a lack of standard, okay? Now, business intelligence can still allow you to make decisions based even on lack of standards. Okay, now poor quality data, the data if available were often incorrect or incomplete. Therefore, users could not rely on the data to make decisions. Okay, the reasons business analysis is difficult from operational systems include, okay, inconsistent data standards, lack of data standards, and poor data quality. Okay, so what happens is that, like I mentioned earlier, okay, now we have all these 3 types of ways in which data is inconsistent. Data, there are problems with data in one way or the other. If you're using a traditional method, it becomes very difficult. Now with business intelligence, it becomes a bit easier, but yet it is difficult. Why? Because you'll notice that data is not up to the standard, whereby decision making is a bit difficult to be done. Now also you have inadequate data usefulness. Users could not get the data they needed. What was collected was not always useful for intended purposes. So what it simply means here is there are unnecessary data which may not be useful for any type of decision making. Ineffective direct data access. most data stored in operations databases did not allow users direct access. Users had to wait to have their queries or questions answered by MIS professionals who could code SQL. Okay, so again here, what happens is that data is stored in operational databases, okay, and it did not allow users direct access. So what happens is the users who actually need the data, they do not have access to it. Okay, why? Because of access controls, and therefore decisions could not be made easily. So the reasons business analysis is difficult from operational systems include inadequate data usefulness, ineffective direct data access. These are, by the way, what we had looked at previously. Now, data marts. Data aggregation. Aggregation is just like summary. Okay, so collection of data from various sources for the purpose of data processing. Okay, ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading, a process that extracts information from internal and external databases, transforms the information using a common set of enterprise definitions, and loads the information into a data warehouse. Now let's read that again and let's go and break it down. Okay, basically ETL, it's a process. And what does the process do? It extracts data from internal and external databases. Internal within the organization, external outside the organization. Now it extracts data and transforms the information into something that is useful. Now data is extracted and then transformed into something that is useful, and then it is loaded into the data warehouse. So that is extract, transform, and loading. Okay, now data mart basically contains a subset of data warehouse information. So with data, what happens is that in a I think there's a diagram after this. Okay, yeah, so we'll be able to look at it and then define. So you have internal databases, this is within the organization, and then you have external databases. So information from here is extracted. Okay, now this is data, remember, databases deal with data. Now, so data is extracted and then transformed into information, and the arrow is a transformation phase, and then it is loaded into the data warehouse. Now, from the data warehouse, from the huge set of data that is given, data is divided into subsets. Subsets, for example, if you look at this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all different sorts of data come into the data warehouse. So the data warehouse then basically makes, when we say subset, is just like it groups data. So all the marketing data goes into the marketing subset. All the inventory based data over here is not data, it's information, sorry. All inventory based information. Why information? Because remember, it has already been transformed there. ETL, extract, transform, loading. So in databases, extracted data is extracted, transformed into information, then loaded into the data warehouse. In the data warehouse, there are groups. So all the data that comes in from the internal database, it goes into marketing information if it is of marketing related. If it's something relating to, let's say, competitor, so it goes into the competitor information group. Now, a single group over there is called a data mart. Okay. Now, data warehouse groups divided into groups. A single group is called a data mart, a subset of data warehouse. Data mart, the model demonstrates how the information is compiled from internal databases or transactional operation databases and external databases through ETL. This is what it is referring to, the diagram here. It then sends subsets of information to data marts to the ETL process. So you have data warehouse and then subsets. An organization must maintain high quality data in the data warehouse. Dirty data, erroneous or flawed data. When we talk about dirty data, it means data which has errors in it. Information cleansing or scrubbing, a process that weeds out and fixes or discards inconsistent, incorrect, or incomplete information. So if dirty data is data with errors or flawed data, data cleansing or scrubbing is trying to convert the dirty data into clean and useful data. Okay, so scrubbing allows a process whereby all the errors are fixed. Sometimes if errors are not fixable, they are the record is omitted or taken out. So dirty data problems. So what are dirty data? You have duplicate data, you have misleading data, you have incorrect data, you have non-formatted data, you have data that violates business rules, you have non-integrated data, and you have inaccurate data. So all these 7 elements contributes to dirty data. Now, data cleansing example, okay? So how do you clean data? So you have missing records attributes, okay? And then you have redundant records, you have missing keys or other required data, erroneous relationships or references, inaccurate data. So remember, these are all dirty data, and if you would really want to fix them, you have to come up with solutions to fix them. So if there's a missing record or attribute, you'll have to go and find it and fix it up, or you'll have to remove the entire record. If there's a redundant record, you may have to go and remove the redundant, one of the redundants. If there's a missing key or other required data, you need to fill it in, find and fill it in. If you're not able to find it, you can remove the entire record. Okay, erroneous relationship, again, that needs to be fixed, rather. And then inaccurate data, it needs to be corrected. Business intelligence. Organizational data is difficult to access. Organizational data contains structured data in database. Organizational data contains unstructured data such as voicemail, phone calls, text messages, and video clips. Now, when you talk about organizational data, okay, data is basically of 2 types. One, you have structured data, and the other one, you have unstructured data. Structured data would be something that follows a specific format, and it continues all throughout the database. Whereas unstructured data is a mixture of all the different types of data. For example, voicemail, so voice data. You have phone calls, that's also voice data. You have text. So it's just like when you if you want to make decisions combining text, videos, and voice, it's difficult to do so. You need a single type of format. That's where unstructured data comes in. Data point, an individual item on a graph or a chart. Data broker, a business that collects personal information about consumers and sells that information to other organizations. There are many data brokers that we have. Google used to work as data brokers as well. So they will collect personal information and sell it over to other companies or other organizations. Bing still does that. Okay, data lake, a storage repository that holds a vast amount of raw data in its original format until the business needs it. Okay, data lake is just a database which holds a lot of unstructured or a lot of original formatted data. The problem: data rich, information poor. Okay, now in simple terms, okay, what it denotes here is organization may have a lot of data. All organization has data, and a lot of data. The bigger the organization, more the data is. However, there are some organizations who are information poor, meaning they are not able to transform data into something that is useful. Now, data, when it's transformed into something that is useful, is called information. Many organizations find themselves in the position of being data rich and information poor. Even in today's electronic world, managers struggle with the challenge of turning their business data into business intelligence. The solution: business intelligence. Improving the quality of business decisions has a direct impact on costs and revenue. Business intelligence enables business users to receive data for analysis that is reliable, consistent, understandable, and easily manipulated. Okay, now, so if the problem exists whereby an organization is data rich and information poor, so what happens? The solution is business intelligence. So what business intelligence does, it basically improves the quality of data, which makes it useful, therefore information, and then it tries to make effective decisions out of that information. Now, in order to do that, okay, the business intelligence enables business users to receive data for analysis that is reliable. In order for the business to make effective decisions, business intelligence allows that information to be reliable, consistent, understandable, and easily manipulated. Okay, the solution intelligence BI or business intelligence can answer tough questions. For example, why are the sales below target? Now, why is it below target? That's the question. The answer is because we sold less in the Western region. Now, using that answer, another question could be derived. Why did we sell less in the West? Answer, so business intelligence would be able to answer, because sales of product X dropped. So why did X sales drop? Because customers complaints increased. Why did customer complaints increase? Because late deliveries went up 60%. So just looking at that, the root cause of the problem is identified, and business intelligence has helped through the organization. So therefore, they'll try to improve on that, which will eventually go improving and allowing them to reach the sales target. Now, the process is initiated by analyzing a global report, say, of sales per quarter. Okay, now it's just a way of explaining. So this is explaining the next slide. You can read this on your own when you have some free time. Now, competitive monitoring, a company keeps tab of its competitors' activities on the web using software that automatically tracks all competitor website activities, such as discounts and new products, same as competitive advantage. Data map, a technique for establishing a match or balance between data source and the target warehouse. Data-driven decision management, an approach to business governance that value decisions can be made backed up with verifiable data. Now, big data. Now, big data is a collection of large, complex data sets, including structured and unstructured data, which cannot be analyzed using traditional database methods and tools, and includes the following four common characteristics. First of all, before we look at the characteristics, we will go and have a look at what is big data. Big data means huge amount of data, enormous or humongous amounts of data. Okay, and not only that, so the data that you have, which is called big data, is a combination of structured and unstructured data. So with that, what happens is that the analysis of data becomes very, very difficult, and so does business decision making. Now, generally, big data has four common characteristics. The first one is variety. That means the different forms of structured and unstructured data. Then you have veracity. Now, veracity means the uncertainty of data. That means it can be like data has some form of abnormalities. It is noisy data or dirty data. The volume, the scale of data, okay, basically is enormous and massive. And finally, velocity. Velocity means, okay, analysis of streaming data as it travels around the internet. Now, big data has this characteristic as well, velocity, okay, whereby once the data is in use, at the same time it is being analyzed. Example, social media messages or web logs of people on the web. There's so many people on the web, Okay, that means as soon as somebody would go and do something on the web, data is being stored somewhere, and that huge amount of data that gathers at a specific time is called big data. So therefore the characteristic exists. So when you look at structured data which is structured, you have structured data is just like having a single type of data. You have sensor data. So the type of data that you have is the sensor-based data. You have weblog data, so only weblog will be involved. Okay, you have financial data, something in monetary values. You have clickstream data. You have points of sale data and accounting data. So these type of data are generally structured. So unstructured data is satellite images. So the images come in different formats. Now, satellite images may be moving images or it can be still images. So it becomes unstructured. Photographic data. Photographic data also comes in a lot of different formats. Same thing with video data, social media data, YouTube data, and then Facebook data, completely different. Data from Twitter or data from Instagram are also different. And sometimes within a single platform, there are different types of data. For example, Facebook has normal text data, audio, video, and so forth. The two primary computing models that have shaped the collection of big data includes, that means what it simply means is the two basic computing models that has redefined big data is one, distributed computing. When you talk about distributed computing, is basically process and manages algorithms across many machines in a computing environment. Distributed computing, what it does, it allows connectivity. And thing that very much rings a bell into my mind when I talk about distributed computing is the internet or the internet many networks combining and joining together. So when you have more and more computers and networks joining together, so the amount of data that would actually be flowing within the web would be enormous. It would be huge. Virtualization, the creation of a virtual rather than actual. Now, virtual means something which is not real. Okay, virtual version of computing resources such as an operating system, a server, a storage device, or network resources. Okay, so when you talk about virtualization, is just like you have a computer system. Now, with the use of a software, you try to create a computer system within your computer system. So if I have a laptop and it's running on a Windows platform and I want to create a virtual computer, it runs on a Linux is another type of operating system on a Linux platform. Okay, what happens is basically I can use a virtual PC software, create a virtual machine and install Linux in it. By the way, those of you who do not know what Linux is, it is an operating system. Now, if you do not know what an operating system is, you have Windows, you have Mac, you have Linux, we have Unix as well. Those are the different types of operating systems. Windows basically runs on interface driven. That means you're able to click and drag. Linux, it runs more on command driven. That means you have to type in commands and then do things in that particular computer system. Now, why do you think that happens? Security reasons. It's more secure. Why more secure? Because there are very few people who would actually go and work with codes rather than using the normal mouse click and so forth. And the power of big data analytics. Okay, so business focus areas of big data. So with big data, we have these things coming in. You have data mining, data analysis, and data visualization. Now, data mining, data analysis, and data visualization is broken down into a lot of different concepts. So what I will do is there will be few slides that I will be omitting later onwards within this lecture so that we touch the very basics. I do not want to confuse you up. Okay, so data mining is basically you have huge amount of data and information. So within that, what you do is you try to find knowledge. What I simply mean is this. Let's say work for a supermarket and I am the data analyst. So what I do is I would go and mine data. That means I would perform some data mining techniques. Now, one day what I do is I extract all the sales amount from the point of sale, the POS system in the supermarket. I bring it over and I start mining the data from it. So once I start mining, I come to a conclusion that product A is more beneficial for the organization to make more profits. And with product A, what people do is they buy product B, E, and F. So I know that those are the complementary items or the complementary goods. So with that knowledge derived, now what I can do is I can help the organization to make and generate more revenue. So that's data mining. Data analysis is whereby you have a huge collection of data and you try to perform some form of techniques to actually go and analyze and derive knowledge from it. And data visualization is whereby whatever you have analyzed or mined, you present it in a graphical format or in a pictorial format for easy understanding. Now, let's go and read the definition of data mining. Okay, so data mining, I will just go and read over the definition. Like I said, I'll be omitting a few things to avoid complexity, to avoid a lot of things. Okay, so data mining, the process of analyzing data to extract information not offered by the raw data alone. So again, so data mining is just a process whereby you analyze the data to extract information or to derive knowledge. Now, steps in data mining process include, okay, so these are the steps that are included in the data mining process model. You have business understanding, okay, so you'll have to understand the business first, how the business operates, what is the mission, vision, aims, and goals of an organization. After that, you'll go and have a look at their data and try to understand what forms of data the organization works with. And then you'll prepare the data, you will basically analyze it, and then you'll model it, evaluate it, and deploy it. Okay, now these are, I would say, some of the supplementary things in the lecture. Do not worry too much about it. No, just know what data mining is. Okay, data profiling, the process of collecting statistics and information about data in an existing source. Data replication, the process of sharing information to ensure consistency between multiple data sources. Recommendation engine, a data mining algorithm that analyzes a customer's purchases and actions on a website and then uses the data to recommend complementary products. Now, common data mining techniques. So these are some of the common techniques. You have estimation analysis, you have affinity grouping analysis, you have cluster analysis, and then you have classification analysis. So these are the common data mining analytics. Sorry, these are the common data mining techniques that data analysts or data scientists normally use to derive knowledge. Now, the definitions are given. If you'd like to, you can always go and read them out. But what I would say is just know one or two data mining techniques, just the name. You don't need to go around knowing what it does and what the actual definition is for CIN708. Why? Because it touches more on the computer science side of this course. Okay, so we'll try to keep it simple. Now, data mining tools. So with data mining tools, these use a variety of techniques to find patterns and relationships in large volumes of information that predict future behavior and guide decision making. Data mining uncovers patterns and trends such as building budgets and other financial information, detecting fraud by identifying deceptive spending patterns, finding the best customers who spend the most money, keeping customers from leaving or migrating to competitors, promoting and hiring employees to ensure success. So with the data mining tools, now data mining tools, basically these are softwares. Okay, for example, a very good data mining tool is Rapid Miner. We have Weka, WEKA. Weka is basically a open source tool developed by Waikato University. Okay, and it's their own data mining tool. So what you can do is, with a large amount of data, you can feed the data into the software, and it allows you to make some form of decisions. Now you have some patterns and trends which data mining could actually uncover. In fact, these are some of the things. Nowadays, you can actually go and use data mining to find knowledge in almost any kind of data, depending how you manipulate it and how you analyze it. Prediction, that means prediction is just a statement about what will happen or something might happen in the future. Okay, you have algorithms. Okay, now these forms the advanced pardon me, these forms the advanced level of data mining techniques. Okay, so algorithm, mathematical formulas placed in software that performs an analysis on a data set. Algorithms help uncover anomaly detection, outliers, and analysis paralysis. Okay, now anomaly detection, the process of identifying rare or unexpected items or events in a data set that do not conform to other items in the data set. Now, anomaly detection comes from a mathematical concept. It's just where you find something unique in your data set, something that is rare. So with that, what happens is that you would say this is unique, so therefore this cannot be used with the analysis. Outliers is whereby a data value that is numerically distant from the most of the other data points in a set of data. For instance, you have a set of data, and basically the data is in terms of numbers, and the numbers would be like 10, 20, 30, 32, 33, let's say less than 100. And out of all them, there's one value which is like about 125,000. So all the values are less than 100 except one, which is 125,000. So that value is called an outlier. There's a huge distance between the data points in the set of data. So outliers, either they are readjusted or either they are removed. Now, analysis paralysis, users goes into an emotional state of over-analysis or overthinking a situation so that a decision or action is never taken. In fact, paralyzing the outcome. It's just a way of, there is a person who is overthinking of a situation, and a decision is never made or taken. Now that process is called analysis paralysis. And there are various reasons why this could happen. Why? Because the user may not be able to use algorithms properly, one. Secondly, the user is not able to basically go and scrub off the data properly, that means clean the data properly. The user may not be able to identify outliers and anomalies. Okay, so just because of that, he or she is not able to perform the actual data mining processes, thus overthinking and never coming to a decision-making phase. Now, advanced data analytics, what I will do is I'll quickly go over some examples, okay? Data scientists perform big data analytics using behavioral analysis. You have correlation analysis. You have exploratory data analysis, okay? Now, let me just give you simple example, simple explanation of this. So when you talk about behavioral analysis, you're talking about a person's behavior. So a data scientist, person who works with data, okay, performs analysis on that. Correlation analysis, okay, basically determines statistical relationships between variables. Okay, you have variables, variable one, variable two. So it tries to find the relationship between those two. You have exploratory data analysis, okay, it identifies patterns in a huge amount of data. You have pattern recognition, okay, it is a classification or labeling of an identified pattern in a machine learning process. You have social media analysis, it analyzes text flowing across social media platforms and also over the web. Speech analysis is a process of analyzing recorded calls to gather information. Okay, recorded calls to gather information. Text analysis analyzes unstructured data to find trends or patterns. Web analysis analyzes unstructured data associated with websites. Okay, now you don't necessarily need to know the definition of all these. Okay, just some basic and supplementary notes over here in terms of these are things that data scientists normally do and perform. Data visualization. Okay, so when you talk about data visualization, is just a way of using infographics to display patterns, relationships, and trends in a visual format. Visualization comes from the word visual. Okay, something in form of pictures, something in form of graphs, something in terms of patterns, and it is displayed so that people might find it easy to understand things. Like it's very much common. Like they say, pictures say 1,000 words. Okay, instead of having things in form of text or words, what happens is that it is displayed in terms of visuals. Some people prefer it as such. Now, data visualization describes technologies that allow users to see or visualize data to transform information in a business perspective. Data visualization tools move beyond Excel graphics and charts into sophisticated analysis techniques such as pie charts, controls, instruments, maps, time series, graphs, and more. So these visualization tools are softwares. Okay. Now, what it says, it moves beyond Excel graphs. Now, when you what it means over here is the visualization tools that you have, it's not like Microsoft Excel. That's very basic. Okay. The visualization softwares are generally very complex and gives pictorial or visual formats in a very detailed manner. And moreover, this uh, it gives you a lot of control over it. For example, such in terms of visualization, however, this is not yeah, you can count this as a visualization, and under visualization this is a dashboard. Okay, so a dashboard basically track corporate metrics such as critical success factors and key performance indicators, and include advanced capabilities such as interactive controls allowing users to manipulate data for analysis. Now that is a very fancy definition that is given in the notes, but if I have to put it out in a simple way, now what it does, a dashboard is basically a platform, and that platform gives you the information in a very aggregated or a summarized manner to the use of graphs, to the use of pictorials, and to the use of infographics. Infographics, graphs with information. And that finishes up the lecture slides for week 9. By the way, this is your 6th lecture. You have 4 more lectures left. There's a total of 10 lectures for CIN708, and we'll try to finish it off in the next 4 weeks' time. And the remainder of the weeks, so this is week 9, you have a total of 14 weeks. Okay, so we have 5 weeks left with us. Okay, so within the 5 weeks, we'll try to complete our lecture notes within 4 weeks, and the final week we will use it for revision questions and so forth. Now, just before we knock off the class, knock off week 9 lecture, okay, your critic writing assessment, which is worth 5% towards your coursework, I am still in the process of marking it. Since you have attempted it, some of you have written quite well. Okay, some of you probably could have done better. Okay, but there's a lot of writing to it, and I would like to take a bit of time to actually read things through and mark it properly. because you put in a lot of effort while doing it. So I also need to put in the same amount of effort when I'm marking it. Okay, so your marks for your critic writing for CIN708 should be up by this weekend. Okay, and once it is up, I will actually give you a announcement via Moodle that the marks are already in your grade books. I hope that is fine with all of you. Okay, so thank you very much for listening in, those of you who are watching the recording. Yeah, so thank you, and I will see you in our tutorial class, which is on Friday. Till then, take care, stay safe. Pinaka.